Yo, what up? Hello, and welcome to another stream. I forgot to turn on my light, but I don't really care. It's fine. Hello. Yeah, this is fine. This is fine. But yes, hello. I am SolarLune. I'm the creator of Master Plan. I'm the creator of Tetra 3D. I am a game developer. I do stuff. Hello. How's everyone doing today? Actually, I forgot I have this open already. Oh, hold up. There it goes. Okay, but yes, hello. Oh, it reloaded. There it goes. But yes, hello. So I'm the creator of Master Plan. I'm the creator of Tetra 3D. Um, yeah. So what I've been doing recently with Tetra 3D, and I'll probably work on Master Plan too. What I've been doing recently with Tetra 3D is I have been working on rendering with indices. We did this, or I talked about this previously. But rendering with indices should be faster than rendering where every triangle has its own vertices. But that kind of requires like rewriting the rendering system a little bit and rewriting the lighting system and everything. So I've gotten most of it done. Um, Let me make this bigger so you can see it. Something like that should be fine, I think. I've gotten most of it done, but this frame rate is not quite what I'd like. It's sitting at like 6 milliseconds to light this scene. It definitely feels like it could be faster, so that's what I'm gonna be trying to get to the bottom of, is basically just making this faster. And I think it's slow because basically when you're lighting triangles, like the way it works is we want to only light the triangles that we see, but in order to light the triangles that we see, we have to know which vertices to light, right? We have to modify lighting, lighting a slice of colors that represent the lights for all the vertices on the triangle, or all the vertices on the mesh rather, which is fine, except that requires the use of a set, which is not the fastest thing, because a set means that you have to like look through to see if a value has been added first, and if yes or no, then either discard it or overwrite it or whatever. So I think I might end up just lighting the entire mesh, even if only one triangle is visible, which is not good. But the flip side is, because most times you're only going to be looking at, well, I mean, like basically it may not be that big of a deal. It might be faster to just light all of the triangles. So that's what we'll try, I suppose, because I can't think of any alternative. So instead of this, we don't care about the. Let me get some music going as well before I forget. This isn't really it's not really nah. How loud is this? Oh, it's not even on. Okay, hold on. Horrible. Nah. Yeah. Let's go with the old school. So I think, yeah, what we're gonna do, yeah, I guess this is fine. We'll just comment this out and then go back up here and replace this with something like this. Oh, we still need the model. Something like this should kind of get us where we want to go. Yeah, this is a little bit better. Oh, but no, we don't have the triangle. Yeah, we'll just have to... do something like this. Something like this. If this is okay, that's what we do. No, this is vert index. Really, I guess we could just rename this index. All right, so something like that should kind of get us where we want to go. So something like this should kind of, yeah, do what we wanted to do. And then when we go over here, we just pass, instead of the triangles, we just pass the mesh part that we're rendering. And that kind of does it. So now we don't really have set usage anymore. Now lighting frame time is down way heavier. It's down from like 5 to 6 milliseconds to just under 2. Which is pretty good, I guess. I'm gonna take a look here to see if I can pull up the previous iteration of Tetra 3D, because I'd like to see how this example fared specifically. So here, so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. Okay. All right, so in a situation like this where we're looking at the entire thing, it's almost the exact same in terms of lighting time, which is good. So it's, when you go full screen, you can see it. So we're looking at like 1 to 2 mils. It's over 2 sometimes, and the overall frame time is like 3, hovering between mid 3 and mid 4, sometimes lower 5s. Milliseconds, so that's pretty good. Oh, it does not like that. There we go. For anyone who's wondering, like, what is this this thing, this view, this, like, what computer is this? This is my same computer, same Linux distribution, Fedora, which works really well. I'm just trying out Material Shell, which is basically like this tiling window manager that is like split up into workspaces vertically and programs horizontally. And when you press this button at the top right, you can change the layout. So it goes from maximize, split, half, ratio, grid, different things like that. So that's kind of cool. I mean, it works pretty well. Well, when it works pretty well. It doesn't always work pretty well, but when it works pretty well, it works really, like, I like it, but it doesn't always work that smoothly. Um, anyway, but I like it. I like it. I hope that they keep working on it. It's really cool looking. It feels cool. I can't, but it's not perfect. There he goes. Okay. Yeah. I just want to see the desktop sometimes. But basically, like, I like this kind of feel where it's like it has some strong defaults and it works a very specific way, but you can kind of tweak it, you know, you can customize it pretty heavily, both in terms of like colors and things, like the accent color, as well as the layout you use. You can turn off or on layouts, you know, from this list, so you don't have to like have options that you don't really care about. Yeah, so it's like there's some cool stuff. There's definitely some cool stuff, and it definitely feels kind of like a next gen take on a tiling window manager. I really like it. It's not the most stable thing. Hopefully they keep working on it and iterating on it, on the idea. Maybe I should back the Patreon because it's really good. Like, I really do like it. It really does look and feel great. But it's not always like smooth. But then again, it might be that it's smooth and works well with you know, varying distributions, and I just have a distribution that hasn't been tested or something like that. This being Fedora, which got just updated a couple of hours ago. Actually, this was I was on Fedora 36 until like this morning. So that's, you know, brand new iteration of a distribution. You know, you can't test every distribution, so it's understandable. But if you want to check it out, if you use Linux, here's the link. It's also on the GNOME extensions site, so you can use that as well. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. All right. So we were sitting at like 1 to 2 milliseconds. It actually feels like it might be a little faster, which is great. Going from it feels like it's skewing way heavier toward 1 millisecond as opposed to 2. The total render frame time was higher. It was like, it went up to 5 sometimes. This still does, but not nearly as frequently. It would go up to 5 maybe once every second or so before. Now it goes up to 5 once every like 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Definitely feels like it's running smoother, so that's great. I wonder if I could get lighting even smoother, but I'll have to think about that. Wait a second. Hold on. Am I doing this even more than I need to? Lighting, if lighting, and let's try that 0. Okay. Let's see. So I'm doing this for every render pair. Okay, we're good. Yeah, this is correct. Yeah, that's actually running pretty well. I think that's running even better than the previous iteration. That's cool. That's always fun to like, you know, work on something and be like, you know, can I make it this even faster? I don't know if I can. And then you work on it some more and it gets faster, and you work on it some more and it gets a little faster. That's one of the appeals. That's one of the fun parts of doing programming is optimization, I feel like. Especially if it's something that you kind of feel like, it won't be fast enough, or, oh, you know, I'm doing this as best as I possibly can, and then you just keep iterating and improving on it, and now it gets, you know, it's getting better and better. So that's cool. That's rather cool. This is, running pretty well. If we could reduce it even more, that'd be good. So I'm gonna try doing some profiling here, and we'll see. Also, Swidq donates $5 to the chat. Thank you very much, Swidq. Definitely well appreciated. He says, "How is it going?" It's going well. It's going well. Thank you very much for the donation and for asking. How's everyone else doing in chat? Actually, it's been a little while since I I'm thinking like, do I want to switch? No, I don't want to switch. I just need to. I'm trying to see if I want to switch back to VS Code immediately or not, but I need to wait until profiling's done. Okay. All right, so we will do this here. Where's it at? Dude, I just ran this. Whatever. But yeah, how's everyone doing in chat? Thank you very much for stopping by the stream. A couple of streams ago, I started just disabling monetization because not enough people come through to the stream to make monetization make sense for me. And it's of course just a irritation. I was going to say iteration, an irritation for people who watch the stream. So I'm just turning off monetization because it's like, unless you have ad block, it's like an ad every like 10 minutes or something. It's kind of insane. So thank you very much for your donation. I appreciate it. Mr. Black says, for premium users, those views count for more money on normal videos. How does that work for live streams? I'm not sure. I have no idea. But yeah, I mean, like, unless I'm getting, you know, hundreds of people viewing a live stream in a single, you know, instance, it's not worth it. Like, if I had, you know, 500 people watching my stream, I'd probably have like hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and then it would maybe make sense to have monetization on. But if I had that many people subscribe to me, I imagine my Patreon would be, you know, blowing up, where it's like, you know, I don't really need the monetization on videos. So it's kind of an interesting thing. I kind of feel like Google might be kind of backing themselves into a bit of a corner by pushing monetization so heavy, and, you know, ad rates being what they are. It's like, if you make it so that ads are they're more frequent, so that people turn on ad block more to avoid ads, then you just make the video creators, you know, their ad revenue is tanking. So now they just say, well, can you just give me Patreon? Can you give me just $1 a month on Patreon, or $2 or $5 or something on Patreon? People do that, then they turn off monetization, and now Google loses all the money. They don't get any ads. So it's like, I kind of feel like maybe what Google should do is instead design ads that require some sort of interaction, and just do that every 30 minutes instead of making video ads that you have to, you skip or just sit through every 10 minutes or something like that. Like, I would much rather have a video ad, an ad where it's like, oh, click the, you know, drag the Mountain Dew over the drink the verification can if you and say, so good. I don't know if anyone remembers that 4chan post, I think it was, but yeah, like, if I would much rather have an ad where it's just like, you know, click on the McDonald's logo or something like that, or you know, which of these McDonald's or Burger King meals do you find the most appealing? You know, something like that, where you just select an option and move on. And I'd rather do that every 20 or 30 minutes than have to sit through a video ad every 7, where it's just like, it's not good. It's not fun. Mr. Black says, sounds like you found your next programming project. I don't know. Sweet Q says, you've been using Master Plan. It's extremely useful. Fantastic. It's always good to hear people enjoy using the program I made for game development and for planning. That's something that I feel like a lot of people don't do enough of, is planning. And I feel like there's not enough tools in the planning space for indie developers, but just in general. Planning is kind of overlooked. I feel like that's the hardest part of making anything, is planning. And I feel like there's not enough like focus on planning and preparation. That's really what kind of sets apart people who you know, are successful with things and people who aren't. It's not so much just like, oh, they're good. Oh, it's like, it's cool. It's like, I mean, like, they're cool. They're talented. It's like, well, you know, people can be talented, but like, if someone completes a project that takes them 4 or 5 years, they're probably not doing it because they just have gas in the tank for 5 years. Like, they probably are doing it because they like have a very strong vision of what they want it, how they want it to do, or maybe they're doing it purely for fun, where it's just like they don't plan to sell it. They are just making it just because it's something they want to see. Like maybe somebody who, like maybe the guys who make Dwarf Fortress are like, they started off making it and they weren't really trying to make a monetized product. They were just like, we want to see like a game where you control these like super, simulated characters, or influence these super simulated characters, and they just slowly built on it and built on it to the point where it's so much work that like you couldn't possibly approach it from an external perspective. Like no one else is going to make a Dwarf Fortress. It's years and years of effort, and the Dwarf Fortress guys are now years and years into something that is impossible to make. So it's like, okay, well, you found your niche. Like you found your niche. They're charging money for it and people are buying it too, and especially with it coming to Steam. But anyway, the point I'm getting at is planning. I feel like planning is probably a key part of like Dwarf Fortress. Maybe it wasn't when they started. I could imagine someone being like, oh, I just want to make a game where like some stuff is like simulated, where it's like they, maybe you have characters and they have like tussles or like relationships and stuff, and then that makes them like not want to work together or things like that. And then as time goes on, as you work on this thing for months, you're like, okay, I need to plan out like what I need to, maybe in the first couple weeks you're like just throwing stuff together, but at some point you're like, okay, I need to write down like what needs to be implemented, what hasn't been implemented, what needs to be rewritten, and then that's planning. So I feel like planning is super important, and not enough people do it, or not enough people realize the importance of it in the process of creation. I think. All right, that's right. So we did. I think I should be able to do like HTTP. Is this right? I don't even know. No, is it HTTP? Is it? It's port 8080. Is it like that? There we go. Here we go. All right, so here's the profile results for our scene here. Let's see, can we get a flame graph? All right, so in drawing, when we're rendering, so yeah, this is good. Before I don't have the previous flame graph, but before, when I was like using a set to iterate through the vertex indices for each triangle and see like, oh, have we rendered this already? That took up like 3 times the amount of time that actually lighting the triangle, lighting the vertices did. Because it's just, as it gets bigger, as you add more data into a set or into a map in Go, it just takes longer to find the data to make sure you're not write over it rather. All right, so this is pretty good. Maybe we want to reduce math.pow and math.min usage. That both of those probably could not be used. Let's see, point light, because math.min, yeah, math.min is not really, math.max and min are both not really necessary. We could probably clamp that. We could just make a clamp function real quick. Because math.max and min both check for not a number, NaN, which we don't need to do because we know our numbers aren't not a number. Mr. Black says, I think a huge issue with that is there is thousands of programming tutorials out there, but they never talk about keeping yourself organized or even mention it. Yeah, you're right. That's true. That's something that people don't talk about. And I think maybe when you're working for a company or something like that, when you're programming for someone else, that's not your job, right? So you don't need to think about how to keep yourself organized. They tell you what to do, right? So they're like, here's our bug tracker, here's the critical issues, here's the high hitting issues or high priority issues, here's the medium, here's the low. We're gonna work on 1 critical this week, and 3 normals, or 3 maybe 3 criticals and 1 normal, whatever. So that's the project manager, or that's whoever's job that is to determine that and keep track of that. And all your job is to fix those issues and update the tickets, right? Like your job isn't to keep yourself organized that much. It's more so to just focus on the current task, or maybe the overarching task. Maybe if you're I'm not speaking from experience. I'm just saying, like, this feels like something that could be the case, where it's like you don't really think about it as an individual programmer. But if you're programming on your own, if you're programming your own projects or your own game or your own application or whatever, you need to keep track of what you need to do. You need to be your own manager, your own director. And I think that is, like you said, something that people don't talk about, and that needs to, you need to recognize that you need to fill that role if you're going to be programming your own things, or making your own content of any description. You need to be somebody who's able to keep track of your own process. Lucretia says, why do you do live streams? I just to stay active. I don't particularly like to do them yeah, because it takes time, but at the same time, I want to stay active. I want to keep my YouTube channel up, up to date and stuff. And people want to see, the stuff I'm making or working on. So it's just one of those things. Yeah, we'll try to maybe, because POW does it does quite a bit here. So yeah, we'll probably try to reduce some of this stuff. This is just clamping, max and min. So we're just gonna do that here. We're gonna clamp. Let's put this over here. We're gonna clamp here. Find clamp. Min max. Oops. 64. 64. Value. Lucretia says, I enjoy your live streams, so I'm happy you sacrifice some of your time to do them. Oh, thank you. I'm glad somebody likes it. Oh, it's... What is... There we go. Okay. So... Not that POW. Would it be faster to do... I think it would be faster to just make our own... maybe? I'll try something. Hold on. I'm not sure if this would be faster, but we'll see if it is. Something like this. Then we can just do POW like this. Let me see. Okay. Let's see how that goes. Let me actually leave this on so we can... Alter Ego says, hey, SolarLune, hello. And Lucretia says, I still think you'd make great prepared content too. Thanks. I would like to make more prepared content. But I mean, like, I like to make stuff. And I think that's... Well, actually, I made... Well, yeah, interesting. But if you check out my... I have a Tumblr now. Because Twitter is kind of exploding. I don't know if it's going to live through... if it's going to make it through the night, honestly. I think that Tumblr might be just kind of like on its way out. I mean, Twitter might be just on its way out. I in the near future. Like it might be that well, I guess I can do it like this actually. Does it become a link ever? I don't know if it ever becomes a link, whatever. But Twitter, I feel like people might kind of leave. I left kind of like I don't use Twitter very much anymore. I used to check it like every day, multiple times. Now I'm on Tumblr because it's a similarly creative place, but it's also better made for long form posts. So on my Tumblr, I have a article series about writing Tetra 3D, a 3D renderer. Writing this renderer. So I'm going to be writing articles and talking about, the experience of writing a 3D renderer from scratch, essentially. Almost an entire 3D renderer from scratch. And talking about, what I learned in the process and what I liked and all that kind of stuff. Mr. Black says, is this Tumblr's chance for a comeback? It kind of is. Like, I feel like Tumblr is all, I never really thought about it as like a social media place, but now it's kind of cool because it's like, it kind of does a little bit of everything. It has your, long form posts, you have your memes, you have your, fandoms and stuff like that, just like Twitter. Like, it's Twitter, but you can make longer stuff too. I think that it's not as good at a kind of back and forth. I think that's very good with Twitter, where you can send a tweet, someone can send it back, and you can have a discussion. Multiple people can weigh in on it. Tumblr is very much so more I post something and then you can like it or reblog it or reply to it, but it's not like you can't really like have a thread of multiple people talking about things with Tumblr, which I think it makes it more kind of isolated. Like you present something and people kind of like it or reflect on it. People might write their own Tumblr post about the thing you wrote, you present it, but no one's going to you're not going to have like a real back and forth that strong or a communal like discussion. Like on Twitter you can have like several game developers talking about techniques that they've learned to optimize rendering or something like that. You're not really going to have that with Tumblr because one person might say something and then someone else might say something in reply or post in reply, but it's not going to be that big kind of like multi-person thread. So Twitter's better for that, and by extension Mastodon is better for that. Co-host is also very interesting, but co-host also takes, what is going on? All right, that was weird. Co-host, I signed up for, but I'm still waiting on the verification period. So anyway, check out that Tumblr. Check out my Tumblr, and feel free to not sign up, to follow me if you are on Tumblr, and I'll be posting these articles and other stuff, development updates and things like that as well. I only remember it as the place for fanfic from like 10 years ago. Yeah, I mean, like that's basically what it was and what it is. But the thing about where am I in line? I'm almost done, almost through. The thing about Tumblr is that like, because Twitter is kind of like dropping the ball so heavy with like verification and people are leaving and all that stuff. Tumblr is kind of just basically all social media is now kind of just like up for grabs. Like people are just like, well, let me try this, well, let me try that. So I think that this might be the opportunity for Tumblr to just kind of be like, let's just do it. Like let's just let's try to put more emphasis on Tumblr, and let's try to become more relevant. They might decide to become more relevant and push a little harder. So anyway, it seems fun. Okay, so yeah, lighting frame time is a lot better on this. Yeah, this isn't perfect, but it is functional. What was I even doing? Oh, I was replacing math.max and clamp. Yeah, that's right. Oh, it seems like it might have helped a little bit. I'm not really seeing too many times where the lighting frame time is above 2 milliseconds. So that's good. That means that we've optimized it a little bit more. Maybe well, let me see. Let me see here. Alter Ego says, "Oh wow, this 3D environment looks amazing." Thank you. Thank you very much. This is just the lighting demo for Texture 3D, just to try out some things and see if everything's working as it should. And I feel like the lighting on this cube is off. I think I have to re-examine that because I think it's jacked up. This object. I think everything is correct. I think this is like the motion and animation is correct, but the lighting I think is wrong. Let's see. So there's supposed to be a cube. There we go. Yeah, this is the cube and this is the light. So it's supposed to be basically kind of like lighting up as it approaches the light and then not otherwise. So I think the lighting is off here. So let's take a look here, see if we can move into this a little bit. Point light strut. Okay. Skin point out working position. Point out position. Why am I doing this like this? Right back, right to in working position. Bird pose. I'm trying to see. I think I might have something wrong, but I'm not positive because if the model is skinned, then surely in order for me to see it, it has to be working correctly. I think it work. Normal be null. If transform normal, it's I have questions. I'm thinking, hold on. Let's see, if model skinned is 6. Oh, it's almost 6. And triangles beyond this screen. Okay, that's fine. I feel like this could be this could be combined, honestly. T Kava Dev says, yo yo yo, hello, welcome to the stream. I'm Baldy. He says, quick question, are you still using Pop OS? Nah, this is Fedora. This is Fedora 37. Just updated today. I recommend it. I think that Fedora is great as a kind of middle ground. I think that if you're looking for, like, if you're new to Linux altogether and you're looking for like a brand new distribution, I mean, like, to jump in, Ubuntu or like Solus would be good. If you're like an old head, like, or just like someone who's like more familiar with Linux and you want something that's like customizable, Arch or Garuda or something like that. And then if you want something that's stable but up to date, Fedora is good. Fedora is stable while still like having like recent versions of Go in your repository. Why the switch? I was using Pop OS. I would put in there with Ubuntu. It's basically the same like level of goodness. The switch, I think, because I don't remember, because this is like a year and a half or 2 years ago that I switched from that to Manjaro, as I recall. I think that Pop OS is good, but I think it's kind of like Ubuntu in that it's made to be as simple as possible. So it's like, rather, like, if you are gonna take Pop OS and then extend it, then it's like you might as well just use a different distribution. Like, it doesn't, like, rather than taking something that's made to be simple and taking out the stuff that makes it simple so you can add things on top, or just adding more complicated things on top, you could just start with a base and then use the complicated, add the complicated stuff on top. So it's just, I think I didn't like that it was based on Ubuntu, which is, means that the packages in the package manager are going to be relatively kind of old, maybe a year or two old in some cases. I didn't like that. I like the tiling system with Pop OS's tiling like layout, but if you're going to replace that with other tiling options like Paper WM, or in this case Material Shell, or if you aren't going to use it, then it doesn't really give you that much. So it's just, stuff to consider. Definitely a great distribution, but it's not for everybody all the time. But no distribution is, or operating system for that matter. I dipped my toe into basic 3D software rendering before and was happy when I managed to render spherical meshes with flat shaded faces. That was a lot of learning in doing that simple thing, says Alter Ego. Yeah, it's a lot to do this kind of thinking, especially when you're in the era of Unity and Unreal, where you don't have to think about any of that kind of stuff. You just turn on the engine and it will render everything for you, or Godot for that matter, or any 3D renderer or 2D renderer. You don't have to think about the implementation details of anything with the engine or even a framework. So if you're making your own 3D renderer software or otherwise, to have to figure out like, oh, why is the lighting not working, or why is it facing wrong, or why is backface scrolling not working, all that kind of stuff you got to think about. And it's interesting to do so. For Pop OS, did you only download the operating system or also get the computer hardware for System 76? Just the operating system. I don't have a System 76 desktop computer. I'm not sure if they make desktop computers. I think they make laptops mainly, right? So I have my own custom built desktop computer that I built over, like, I don't know, 15 years, just bit by bit. I had a whatever kind of computer. Before it was like it wasn't a Fry's computer. I had a Fry's computer, but that's not the one I don't think that's the one I had. But basically, I got a computer, at some point. I don't know where I got it or what kind of computer it was. But, you like say, oh, I want to play this game, but my graphics card is too bad, so you replace the graphics card. But in order to do that, you have to upgrade the power supply unit. So you do both. Then later on, you're like, oh, I want to make videos. Why is it so slow? Because I don't have RAM. Okay, let me get more RAM. So basically, over time, I just replace the components, and then I replace the case, and now I've had my own computer that I built myself for like, I don't know, 8 years or something. Like I've had this computer for quite a few years, I believe, and I've just been slowly replacing the pieces to upgrade it as time goes on when necessary, replacing the graphics card or installing a new processor, things like that. And it's a real ship of Theseus kind of thing going on. All right, so what we're trying to figure out here is why this mesh looks like this. Tikatha Dev says, is it just me, or when you try to implement engine features from scratch, you actually gain better insight in designing games? Like you can somehow gain the sense of what works or not. I do think, I'm just looking at this, trying to see, is this, I'm not sure if this light is working, is like accurate. It feels like it should be darker when it gets higher, right? Like it shouldn't be so bright at close range, but maybe that's right because it's more focused as it goes up. Okay, no, well, I don't know. I'm not sure. I have to review how that works. I'm trying to see how this works. I don't know if I would say that. I do think that designing, let me move this over here. I do think that designing an engine does give you a better sense of what like optimizations you can make for your game. Like, you know, I think that when you get your hands dirty in designing an engine or framework or renderer or whatever, or even tools for a editor for like, you know, Blender or for Unity or Unreal, all that stuff does help you, you know, kind of understand like, oh, this is a draw call. Oh, you know, I should try to like, you know, limit this, or I should try to, you know, draw these things together or draw as little as possible. And those kind of concepts can carry over into game development. I don't know if I would say that designing and implementing engine features or framework features gives you better insight into designing games. But I do think that pretty much, you know, any game can be fun, and if it's fun, the fun factor comes from a variety of aspects. So designing an engine, you know, you can find it fun to design an engine, and you could take that fun and put it into a game. So, you know, just like you can take the fun of exploring caves, or take the fun of shopping at a grocery store, or take the fun of walking your dog, and put those things into games. Like, you know, a game doesn't have to be only gamey things. A game can be things that people find enjoyable. So in that sense, I do think that, you know, the satisfaction you feel from designing and implementing engine features can help you to design and implement good, fun parts of a game. But I don't think that like designing, like literally making lighting work in a game engine makes you better at designing the game, like in an unrelated part. I don't think so. But I mean, you could also say that that's a logical process, right? So that, you know, process of like thinking something through and coming to the end of it, you know, is something that keeps you sharp for game development. So it's like, you know, I could see where it wouldn't be incorrect, but I would say that like the primary appeal you get from the primary appeal you get from from designing and implementing engine pieces and framework pieces would kind of transfer over to game development more accurately as the appeal part. You're implementing that concept and that feel of accomplishment, or of, you know, getting your hands dirty either in code or in even other things, and that's what, you know, makes the game fun. Alter Ego says, I've had my PC for over 7 years. I'm very happy with it. I would like to continue with it for at least another 3 years if I can. It has a GTX 970, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and a Gen 4 i7 CPU. Yeah, that's good. I've been thinking about maybe getting more RAM, because RAM is one of those things that like you can spend $100 and get like double the RAM, which is, I'm not sure why RAM's so cheap, but it's fantastic because you can go from, you know, 4 gigabytes to 64 in like just a couple $100. Like that's pretty good considering, you know, $400 for a GPU, $500 for a GPU doesn't give you that much. But RAM is one of those things where it's like it's relatively cheap, and you know you will pretty much immediately feel it if you're running up against the RAM ceiling, doing things like video editing or photo editing, or just if you have a lot of programs running on your computer at once. So I've been thinking about getting more RAM myself. I have 16 gigabytes right now, and I could see getting another 16 just to match the ones I have in my computer already, and just, you know, just have a little bit more room. Lucretia says, I heard you enjoyed Sonic Frontiers. What did you like about it? It's very fun to control Sonic in the open world sections. I think the cyberspace sections aren't as good as like Sonic Forces or Sonic Unleashed by far. You know, I feel like they're just okay in Sonic Frontiers, but in Sonic Unleashed and Generations, they were great. They were, you know, it was a lot of fun to control Sonic. So that's a little bit of a regression. It's not unfun, but it's not as good as it was. But controlling Sonic in the open world is really good. It's really fun, and it's got this kind of the same Mario Odyssey, like, you know, little bite-sized, you know, challenges feel. I think they implemented that really well in Sonic Frontiers, and I think is a little bit of an experimental game in that the game isn't so gamey in Sonic Frontiers. It's kind of like you can kind of, you know, progress as you wish. It's actually maybe a little bit more freeform than Mario Odyssey, which I would say is a relatively freeform 3D platformer. You know, I might say Sonic Frontiers is even more freeform because it's kind of like you don't have to really do anything to progress. You can fish, you can, you know, fight enemies, you can find, you know, the parts you need, the gears and the levers, no, the gears and the hearts or badges or whatever. So it's like, it's kind of like, it's freeing to just like go and, you know, grind rails and pick up, you know, collectibles, and then go to a different thing and do that. And here's a giant enemy that you can fight. And, you know, each zone has its own set of enemies that all have their own like challenges. I think they implemented it really well, actually. I think that I definitely don't want them to get rid of the cyberspace levels, linear levels. I think that could really be good. Yeah, I think that they should probably keep the linear levels, or at least, like, I probably would put Sonic in his open world gameplay feel into like linear levels designed for that Sonic. I think that would be really good, and I think that would be what they should do for the next Sonic adventure or Sonic mainline game, because it feels like it's fun to control Sonic. You know, they do this, you know, kind of open world freeform gameplay really well. And I think that overall, when you're looking at the linear stages, they kind of, I wouldn't say they fall apart, but they're not as good as the open world gameplay in my experience. Some people feel otherwise. I feel like Sonic doesn't control as well, as tightly as in Generations, Unleashed, Forces. You know, I feel like Sonic Frontiers the day stages aren't as good, but if the stages were unique, then maybe I would feel a little differently. It just feels a little like lackluster for the day stages, and the open world definitely feels like it. That's the fun, that's the meat of the game for me. But I like that it's free form. You can kind of approach it as you will. I think that like I said, it's a little bit experimental, and I think that that's good for Sonic Team to kind of get feedback on, and that's also good for gamers and people who enjoy playing games. I think that you can, you know, not every game needs to be like a previous game that you've engaged with. Games can do things that, you know, you may not like, or that haven't been tried, or you know, are, you know, initially off-putting. You know, games can do stuff that maybe you don't like, or you know, it doesn't jive with you immediately. games can do those things to kind of look for directions to grow. So, you know, Sonic being a traditionally level-based game and a traditionally linear title, you know, kind of branching out and becoming a more open game where you can kind of make of it what you want and have fun in the way you wish. I think that's good. Like, I think that's very fun and very interesting. And I think it says something about gamers and gaming as a mentality. If you, for example, play Sonic Frontiers, you find out that you don't have to, you know, really engage with the game at all. You find out that you can go to the fishing area and just fish continuously for the gears and things you need. Then you fish for the gears and things you need, and you're upset that they give you this ability to do so and find it not fun. It's like, well, why did you play the game in a way that you didn't like? I think that's kind of a core problem with gaming, is people find exploits, use those exploits, and then are upset that they're in the game. And it's like, well, why don't you just not use the exploits? Especially if it's something that is clearly put there for new players, or for people who are unfamiliar with the game, or people who don't have the time to engage with the game. It's like, you know, it's like going to you know, as an example, I'm trying to think of a game that kind of fits that example. It's like playing Wonderful 101. It's like playing Astral Chain. It's like playing, you know, any 3D action game and being like, I beat the game and I only pressed, you know, one button. I only pressed X constantly. It's like, okay, I mean, you know, that's kind of a problem if you only press X, but like, you look at the gameplay and it's like, dude, you're getting like bodied constantly, and then you die and you respawn, and you press X and you get bodied constantly, and you die and you respawn, and then on one of these attempts you just don't take enough damage and you just brute force your way through the level, and you're like, see, this is boring. It's like, you're just playing bad. Like you're just playing poorly in a way that you don't like, instead of basically being like, well, let me try other things that would allow me to play the game and have more fun with it and enjoy it more. So I think that's kind of part of the problem with gaming and gamer mentality, and people who play games a lot, is, yeah, they don't find the fun in things. They find the exploits, or we, you know, don't always find the fun in things. We find things that we don't like, latch onto those, and attribute that as an issue to the developer, and say, well, why did you put this in the game when I didn't have fun engaging with this? It's like, well, maybe it's not for you. Maybe that part of the game isn't for you. Maybe either the game isn't for you, or maybe that part of the game isn't for you, and you would have more fun with these other elements. If you don't want to just fish and get in Sonic Frontiers and get all of the things you need to progress through an island, then maybe just don't fish. Maybe you should play the game. Maybe you should engage with the other parts that you'd enjoy, rather than fishing for 3 hours and being like, this is boring. It's like, well, yeah, you're playing it kind of boring. I don't know. To Call the Dead says, it would be cool to have a game design jam stream where you use the current state of Tetra 3D and Master Plan. You and the chat attempt to collab. It would be enjoyable since we hear more of your design thoughts. That'd be interesting. Yeah, I think game design thoughts would be interesting. I could probably make a video on Sonic Frontiers, because I feel like there's a lot there. There's so much to say about Sonic Frontiers. Let me check. Did Bikuri Box 12? Did he say anything about Sonic Frontiers yet? No, not yet. Okay, so if you're unfamiliar, Bikuri Box 12 is a YouTuber who let me put the actual link to his channel. He's a YouTuber who does primarily Sonic, well, not primarily, he does Sonic videos as well as others, but he's done quite a few Sonic videos. They're well edited, funny, and he's very thoughtful about the games, you know, the games he likes and why they are good or bad, things that he thinks they could improve on or that are busted. But he also is like, you know, this is fun, this is well done. I like his channel. He's really good, you know, excellent videos. I love to see his uploads and stuff like that. And I'm interested in seeing what he has to say about Sonic Frontiers, because he was looking forward to it prior to release, and you know, it's been out for a couple weeks now, so I imagine he's, you know, maybe making a video on it as we speak. But yeah, there's so much to say about Sonic Frontiers, and I feel like he is one person who's like, he would have thoughts. He will have thoughts. He might have like a 40-minute video or something talking about like, this is, good. I love this. This is bad, because you can talk about people's perspective on game development. You can talk about people's perspective on games, the way they play. You can talk about the developers and what they thought when they were making a specific system, or how systems interact or do not interact. So it's like there's a lot that can be said about any game, and Sonic Frontiers has a lot of discourse surrounding it, with people complaining about it, some people complaining about it, and saying it's not fun, but the vast majority saying that it's great. It's like 7.2 out of 10 on Metacritic, and it's got like 94% on Steam. So it's like there's so much to talk about, because people are like, some people are eager to see it succeed, so they rate it well. Other people don't like Sonic in general, so they rate it poorly. Some people don't like that it's experimental, or kind of just it's more of a playground entry. It's not as firm a game as other games in general, or other Sonic games even. But that's also an upside if you like those things. So it's like, there's so much to talk about with Sonic Frontiers. I feel like that specific game would be a really good topic for a video, or an article, whichever one. I was not intending to spend so much time on stuff that is unimportant. Take Out This Dev says, I feel like the flaws of Sonic are less to do with the issues in the game, but mostly public perception. The image over the decades was shaky. I do feel like there are fundamental issues with the game that, if you were to try to critique the game, you can critique it, and there are issues, there are problems. There are things that I didn't like about Sonic Frontiers. The cyberspace levels, again, aren't as good as they could have been. Sonic doesn't feel good, as good to control in the cyberspace levels compared to open world, in the open world section, or other games. So I mean, like, there are problems with the game, but I do think that like you say, it got to the point where fans have completely conflicting views. That is kind of the primary issue, or a primary issue, which is that people don't agree on what makes a good Sonic game. There are also a lot more Sonic games to fight over than there are Mario games, as an example. Like mainline Mario games, you have like 5 or 6 3D mainline Mario games. 4 if you're talking about like the open world ish ones, like Mario 64, Sunshine, Galaxy 1 and 2. We'll merge them together, and Odyssey. That's kind of it. Mario 3D World we won't count, because it's not a exploration Mario. We won't count Mario Maker 1 and 2 for that reason. Those are 2D Marios. So it's like you only have 4 basically mainline Mario titles, like 3D ones, and Sonic you have like 9. You have Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, Heroes, Sonic Forces, Sonic Frontiers, Sonic Lost World. That's kind of like a Sonic, pretty accurate. You have Sonic Unleashed, you have Sonic Generations, you have Sonic Colors, you have Sonic the Black Knight, and Sonic the other one where he was in like the Flame Heart one. I can't remember. There's like 11 different Sonic games that I would say are pretty much mainline games. We could take out the Wii ones, except for Sonic Colors, because that was pretty much like the intended. I feel like a full fat Sonic. I haven't played it, but from what I'm seeing, what I saw, it seems like a normal Sonic. So if you take off the Wii, storybook Sonic games, you have 9 Sonic games that are kind of all different, except for Unleashed, Generations, Forces, I guess. Yeah, and Colors, Forces, Generations, Colors, and Unleashed are kind of all, Forces, Generation, Colors, and Unleashed are kind of all the same kind of formula, but like Heroes is different from Adventure 1 and 2, which is different from the boost games. It's like, so people have different complaints or different, like, this game was good, why can't we control Tails and Knuckles? Where's the Sonic's friends? Where's the plot? Oh, of course, '06. I forgot Sonic '06. That's like there's been 12 Sonic games in the past like 20 years. And Mario in comparison is like he put Nintendo puts out a Mario game like once a generation. Sonic puts out a Sonic game like on average, except for this like 5-year break, there's been a Sonic game probably like every 3 years. And Shadow the Hedgehog. I forgot about Shadow the Hedgehog. That's different, definitely different. You could argue it's a spin-off, but it's also pretty similar in design in terms of like it is a 3D platformer like Sonic. It is linear like Sonic, as I recall. Like there's some, there's like choices, right? But like overall the game is it's not like an open world game. So like if you are looking for an open world game, Shadow the Hedgehog was not that, right? So there's quite a few avenues where fans can be like, I didn't like this game, or it should have been more like that, or we need more games like Sonic Heroes or whatever. And it's like, that is kind of a problem with the Sonic fan base, but that is why it's kind of exciting to see so many people like Sonic Frontiers, because that kind of indicates that hopefully the Sonic team development team would be able to look at that and be like, all right, we're sitting at like 92%. Let me see. The Sonic Frontiers is sitting at 95% positive on Steam. That's insane. So if you have that much like, excitement over the series, that indicates that, they have something there, even if, a lot of that is just people rating it well because they like Sonic, or because this entry hasn't been as bad as it could have been. So they're like, oh, it's fantastic, when it's just it's average to them, but they're like, it's not garbage, so it's got to be fantastic. So even with that kind of like weighting, I mean, but the Sonic fan base is also a fan base where like if the game is bad, it's not going to be well reviewed. Like it's not like people look at Sonic Lost World and are like, well, I didn't like it at all, but I'll recommend it, or it's sitting at like an 80% approval rating on Steam. Nah, like I don't think it is. Let me see. Hold on. Oh, why this is so weird. Yeah, I can't. Well, in any case, I don't know what's going on with my. This is one of the issues, dude. With one of the issues with Material Shell it's like it's acting up. It doesn't focus on what I have under my mouse cursor. Anyway, Lost World Steam is sitting at 52%. No, 64%. So like if people don't like, if Sonic fans don't like a Sonic game, they'll be like, yeah, it's not good in general. So I feel like Sonic Frontiers hitting 95% that's pretty indicative of like, yeah, it's a good game. It's not perfect. There are ways to improve, but it's a pretty good game. Alter Ego says, I enjoyed the non-Warhog levels in Sonic Unleashed. Some of the regular Sonic levels were exhilarating with how fast you could go. I agree. I think that was just like, I don't know if I would say that Sonic Unleashed was above Sonic Generations in terms of, I think Sonic Generations was better in terms of overall quality, but I think the day stages in Sonic Unleashed were like a home run. A lot of them were really good. They could have used more branching paths. They could have used more kind of horizontal distance where you go to different directions. But I think overall they were a lot of fun and they were very inventive in comparison. And they were all kind of unique. Like, they weren't just like the ice level, the green field level. They were themed after places on Earth, right? So it was like, this is supposed to be Greece, this is supposed to be New York City, this is supposed to be Africa, a city in Africa, or I think that's where like I think it was the Missouri, or I can't remember the name of the the region in Sonic Unleashed, but like they by naming them and theming the levels not just after climates but after parts of the earth, parts of humanity and of culture, you had very interesting architecture and very interesting areas to run through. I thought it was really good. Like I thought it was very solidly done. Why is it so weird? I never figured this out. I keep getting distracted. Let's see. Let me do this. Let me try something. I want to simplify this. What didn't it like? Excuse me. Don Duval says, yeah, I don't know why it's okay. So this has nothing to do with the other things around it. Oh, it might be. Hold on. No, yeah, this is incorrect. Don Duval says, is this a completely custom 3D engine in Go and OpenGL directly? It is it is a 3D renderer that also is kind of like an engine. Like it's basically like a software renderer, but it uses the GPU to draw triangles. In Go, yeah. Alter Ego says, Pokemon is always well reviewed and not always deservedly so. I think Game Freak is lazy and the quality of recent games in the franchise has been well below its potential. I generally agree. I'm not very interested in Pokemon. Not because the characters are boring or something like that. I really like, not obviously. I like the design of a lot of the Pokemon. The original 151 were fantastic. The ones past that can vary in quality because that's not the Pokemon I grew up with, but like it's been 30 years. They can iterate on the design a little. Like that's my problem basically with Pokemon, is just it is always a mid experience. It is always like a 6 out of 10 experience because they don't really want to grow the concept or take any chances or risks. It's not experimental at all. It is the same design basically as Pokemon Red. All these years later, it's just catch Pokemon, raise them. That's it. Level them. Like, and the crazy thing about Pokemon is, like you said, the potential for Pokemon is insanely high. It is perhaps the one media property where you could theoretically do like a different game every year and not really run out of anything for hundreds of years. It's like you have so much. The Pokemon world is so rich. And that's kind of a testament to the anime, I guess, more so. The anime and the movie writings and stuff, the movie writers. Because like you have Pokemon breeders, you have Pokemon researchers, you have Pokemon professors, you have Pokemon trainers, you have Pokemon bug catchers and little kids and parents who have Pokemon, and Pokemon are pets for some people and Pokemon are partners for others, and like you have all of this stuff, all of these ideas. You have ship captains, you have Pokemon that like move, they farm, or they like do things and help around with chores or with tasks for businesses. So you have like so much like world building, and then every single Pokemon game concerns the same stupid kid who gets like a Mewtwo, and it's just like, bro, like enough. Like I've had enough of like this concept of you're a 10-year-old kid or a 15-year-old kid or whatever kid who chooses a Pokemon and runs through the earth catching Pokemon willy-nilly with no regard for the impact to the social and economical socioeconomic and ecosystem ecological climate. Like you're just catching everything. Like is it okay to catch Ho-Oh? Like is it going to be a problem to like catch a legendary Pokemon and just have him? Like is that going to be an issue? But really, I mean, like, you know, I would love to see a Pokemon that's more like Animal Crossing, where you, like, for example, move to town, you're just a guy, and you can choose a variety of different jobs that interact with Pokemon, and that's that's the game. You can choose one of, let's say, 7 different tasks, and your goal is to, let's say, get enough money to pay off a debt, right? So that means that you can be a Pokemon photographer like Todd, like the Pokemon Snap series. You can be a Pokemon breeder like Brock. You can be a gym owner and deal with all the gym logistics and stuff. You can be a Pokemon trainer, and maybe the training arc in this game would be shortened. Maybe instead of a full 7 gyms plus Elite Four, maybe it's just 4 gyms or something like that. You can be a Pokemon performer, right? You can be like a nurse, like at the Pokemon, you know, thing, Pokemon, not Pokemart, the Poke Center. So like through these means, you have this feeling of Pokemon taking on a more real feel in gameplay, and you could maybe have 1 or 2 Pokemon for each track. Whereas like each of these tracks has a selection of, let's say, 6 or 10 different Pokemon, and you can select 1 or 2 throughout your career. And so your goal is to really like have a strong bond with your Pokemon. Like Ash in it, you could have a Pokemon game that just follows the anime. Like you could have a season for each season of Pokemon. You could have an entire game where you do all the stuff in the anime. Like Ash does so much other crap apart from what he's supposed to be doing in the Pokemon anime. That's interesting. Where it's like, oh, he's going to, you know, the Charizard, like, you know, foundational, you know, their nest where all the Charizard live, and, you know, you can interact with the Charizard, and they don't like Ash's Charizard because he's smaller than the rest and he has to train. Like that entire episode was completely like thought up for no reason, of course, but like that's an interesting concept. Like, yeah, okay, give me a game where I can go to the Charizard reserve and like interact with Charizard and see them in their natural habitat, and, you know, like give me some more stuff to do. Like give me some more world building, you know, ideas, rather than just going into caves and fighting Zubats for 30 years. Like that's so banal, that's so easy, that's so simple. Like, you know, that on Game Boy, okay, you know, you can, you know, Game Boy is what it is, but like, you know, on the Switch, like, you know, you can do so much more. You can do so much more stuff. It's just, it's frustrating. So anyway, but yeah, like you look at Pokemon as an anime or the movie, and each character in the Pokemon universe is always like, this is my Pikachu, or this is my Eevee, or this is my, you know, Mr. Mime, or whatever. And they have like maybe 5 or 6 Pokemon, and that's their squad. Like that's it. And it's only like the villains and the terrorists and stuff that are like, we're capturing all the Pokemon we come across, and we're stealing Pokemon, and we have hundreds of Pokemon, and we have them in cages. And Ash is like, no, you can hear their tears, they're crying for help. And they're like, we don't care, we're trying to get all the Pokemon. But in the in game, in the Pokemon game, you are the terrorist. You're just you're the dude who's going around catching every single Pokemon you come across, and you just cycle them out according to the gyms you run into. Where it's just like, oh, I'm going to the water gym, let me get the grass Pokemon. Let me get a, you know, 2 or 3 grass Pokemon to wipe the water gym. Then we go to the grass gym and we'll get the fire Pokemon. And it's like, that's so basic, that's so easy. You can do so much more with the concept. So anyway, that's my problem with Pokemon, is you have potential, so much potential for a fantastic series of games where you have, you know, like we've had 30 years of Pokemon. For someone who for someone who's a Pokemon buff, if I said like, oh, what Pokemon should I get started with, they should be like, oh man, there's so many good Pokemon games. there's so many. Like Pokemon Red, Pokemon Ruby, oh man, Pokemon Sapphire was like fantastic. Pokemon Gold and Silver, that was great. Crystal was incredible. But really, all of those games, every single Pokemon game is the same. If I said I've never played Pokemon before, which one should I start with? They'll be like, start with the latest one, because it's like there's no reason to go to any of the older ones, because the gameplay is the exact same in all of them. You could start with any of them, but you might as well start with the latest one because it just looks the best. But like in terms of like gameplay, it's like you don't really need to play more than one. Like like you could basically, maybe one has a side story that's like impacting, like, oh, that hits kind of hard. But like in terms of gameplay, it's like you can play any of them. They're kind of all the same. And I think that's the shame. That's the unfortunate part. Like if you came to me and said, which Mario game should I play? It's like, well, dang, dude, there's a lot of good Mario. Like Mario 3, Mario World, Mario 64, Mario, I've never played Mario Sunshine, but I'm sure it was fantastic. Mario Galaxy was pretty good, but Mario Odyssey, you might like Mario Odyssey and love Mario 64. You might like Mario World and love Mario 3. They're different games. But like Pokemon is like, they're all the same, bro. Like they're all the same. It literally does not matter. Like Pokemon has been the exact same for 30 years. That's the problem. It's just like it doesn't matter. Like is that, and that's the most frustrating thing about Pokemon. Is just like they have so much to work with. They have so much potential to make the game interesting, to make the games interesting, to have interesting gameplay. Yeah, I mean, like I was thinking, like, there are side games like I'm trying to see. Oh, take out the dev. Yeah, it says Pokemon Mystery Dungeon still holds a special place for me. So there are side games that are fantastic, like the Mystery Dungeon series. They did a Pokemon Ranger, Pokemon Snap, right? If you like just battling Pokemon, then Pokemon Stadium for the N64 was there. Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness had I think a unique stories, right, for Pokemon XD and Gale of Darkness. Those two, I think there was two on the GameCube. So those were unusual entries that were more traditional RPGs and that didn't have it didn't have the traditional gym based gameplay, or Pokemon, what's the other one, like gyms and competitions. But like the mainline Pokemon games are kind of all the same. And I feel like that's a shame, because you could really have like some really intriguing gameplay concepts and ideas, much more than Pokemon has. Like, you say, which Final Fantasy should I play? That's a discussion for like several hours. Like some people would be like, let me just, which oh my, hold on, let me take off my jacket, because we're gonna discuss this. Like, Final Fantasy 6, Final Fantasy 5, Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 7 remake, Final Fantasy 12, well, 10. Some people say 10 was great. I think 10 was pretty good. I never finished it, but 10, some people liked it. 13, I played Lightning Returns, and that was pretty good. It was interesting. Final Fantasy 13 I wasn't a fan of because it was so linear, but there's differences. Like there's they're all different, both. Even if you take out the story, the gameplay of each of the Final Fantasy, like if you remove the story from Final Fantasy, which is stupid, because Final Fantasy has some of the Final Fantasies have the best story in all of gaming, but like if you remove the stories, you still have a lot of gameplay systems in each of the games, from like Final Fantasy 3 on, Final Fantasy 4 or whatever on. Like Final Fantasy 5 had the job system, Final Fantasy 6 had like 20 different characters that all had their own like special abilities. 7 had the materials system, 10 had the sphere like grid, 13 has the jobs, the what's it, not the garb system, what's it called, where Lightning can equip different clothes. 13 Lightning Returns has that ability, has that skill, or that set of mechanics. But like each one has its own mechanics, and they have their own gameplay. Where like 15 is an action game more so, and it's fun. 13 was kind of like a turn-based, kind of like a hybrid, where it's like it's action game, but it's not super dependent on positioning and timing. Uh, Kingdom Hearts. Yeah, well, when I say Kingdom Hearts, the story is so like heavy in the Kingdom Hearts series that I don't know if I could say like they're all the same. Even though from a gameplay perspective, they're pretty much the same in terms of like you run around, you jump, you attack, you have magic, you have like reaction skills, you have summons, like that kind of stuff has been pretty much constant through the series from my understanding. And it's just kind of like they might add additional things on top, like, oh, this is how you equip different skills or get different skills. You have the gummy system and the gummy ship, and the story is so like it chokes out the game so hard. Where it's just like, I'm not Zephyroth, I'm Xehanort, and you know, I have all my homies are real dudes, but they got their souls taken from them, so now they're real dudes with X's instead of their real names, but they're still not real dudes, but they still have bodies and eat and stuff, so they kind of are real dudes. Like, the story in Kingdom Hearts is so like absurd that I don't know if you could take it out because it's such a like, it's so like wild, and so like you can't play Kingdom Hearts just for the gameplay. I feel like you have to be invested in the story. Like you have to be interested in the story because it's so heavy in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. I think 3 it was kind of sidelined, which is unfortunate. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, that's my thoughts on a lot of different stuff. I still have to figure out why this is doing this and it's not lighting correctly. Let me try something real quick. I wish to do this. Let me duplicate this. Oh, it's what I was looking for. So many key combos. Ace Attorney is a really interesting story-heavy example. Ace Attorney is very story-heavy, yeah. It's very the Ace Attorney series is a series where if you want to play any of them, you can play any one and basically get the same result, get the gist of it from any of them. It doesn't really matter which one you play, except for maybe the Miles Edgeworth games, because that had a little bit more walking, a little bit more movement. So it's a little different, but it's basically the same gameplay. But the story is pretty. The story is pretty much the same in all of them. Okay, so the lighting is clearly working correctly on this one, and it's not working correctly on this one. So that implies that there's something up with my lighting code for skin characters, skinned objects rather. Also, I think I need to do this, and I never did. Which means it's probably too late to do it now, but that doesn't matter. Let's see. Yeah, I think the issue here is probably this model that's skinned. I think this needs to be something else. Yeah, something about this is off. These are all the same value. They're all the same array or slice. That's a problem. So what is the issue? Hold up. Where's Tikot the dev says, if you were invited to work, well, he says we need tangents in Tetra 3D. I don't know what those are. Like, I know that it has to do with 3D modeling, but I'm not sure how it relates to normals. What's the difference? I'll have to look it up. If you were invited to work as a game developer for a team and you could set the terms, what would you pick? Would you go for it or shrug it off to do your own thing? Well, I don't know what you mean by if you could set the terms. Do you mean like set what I'm working on and how long I take and all that stuff? How long we take? Like how much time we have, how much budget? Or do you mean like, I don't know what you mean. But if you mean like I could set the how we're gonna do this, then I don't see why I wouldn't do it. What would I pick? I might pick that Pokemon idea. I feel like that would be a game that I would like to play. I feel like it's a game that different people would like to play too. There's not enough Animal Crossing like games out there that aren't just basically Animal Crossing or Stardew Valley. I feel like there's a lot of room for breezy gameplay apart from farming. I think that, you know, farming as a genre, a farming game or, you know, farming simulation game like Harvest Moon, Rune Factory, you know, Animal Crossing kind of falls in there. I guess life simulation is more accurate. But life sim games are like The Sims, Animal Crossing, and then all of the like Harvest Moon and Stardew Valley like games. There's a lot more we could do with that. Why not? Like, I would like to maybe make a game where you live in a normal city, a modern city, but it's like Animal Crossing. So, you know, you have what does that look like? Now, I would like to investigate that. A game where there's no combat, there's no violence, or at least there's minimal violence. Not, you know, it's not like GTA or something. It's just, you know, maybe something kind of cartoony like Jack and Daxter, you know, or 3D platformer level, you know, combat. But that's not really the focus of the game. But a game where there's very little or no combat, but it's set in modern times, and it is a game about survival, about, you know, just trying to live your life like Animal Crossing or The Sims. I feel like that could do really well. I think that there's not enough like just kind of chill games, especially set in modern times. It feels like if it's a chill game, it's kind of like an idyllic, you know, area or time, like you know, maybe the medieval times, or maybe you know, something like that. Lucretia says there aren't enough farm simulation games. Did you watch the last Nintendo Direct? No, I didn't say there's not enough farming simulation games. There's not enough breezy games that aren't farming simulation. Like, if you look at like most I'm saying breezy because that's kind of the way to describe, the way I have to describe these kinds of games, where it's relatively slow paced, like Animal Crossing, like The Sims, like Stardew Valley, like Harvest Moon. But the vast majority of these breezy games are farming games. If you don't want to farm, you have very few options. If you want to play a breezy game and you don't want to like plant stuff, you don't have a lot of areas to grow. That's kind of it. Like, even like Minecraft and Terraria, if you want to put them in there, there's farming in there. If you want to live, like, you know, you're gonna probably, you know, be planting wheat. And I mean, I wouldn't really put those in farming simulation or games that have farming in them. You know, the farming implementations in Minecraft and Terraria are pretty simple. It's not, you know, you're not really waiting around like with Harvest Moon or something like that. It's not really about farming, although you can make it about farming. But basically, breezy games, there's not enough breezy games. I feel like I would like to make a breezy game, and I think a breezy, chill game set in modern times would be a lot of fun. I think that that's something more indie people are making, and that's why I haven't seen them. That's why, I'm like, there's not that many of them. I'm just not familiar with them. But I also feel like indie games that are breezy are probably going to be focused on the characters and focused on the on a story surrounding a character, like maybe Night in the Woods or something like that. I don't know if it's breezy, but it feels like, it's not like, it's more so about the character and their journey as opposed to crushing external conflict through violence, or the game exploration of the gameplay systems. That's what I feel like from like Night in the Woods or similar kinds of games. Like, I think I would like to make a breezy game that's focused on gameplay systems, set in modern times with minimal violence. That's kind of the idea. Something like Animal Crossing or The Sims, but you have a more direct tie to your character than The Sims. You're controlling one character. You're not controlling a series of them or a collection of them. And it's not a strategy game or overhead, like go here, do this kind of game like The Sims, but it's also more modern and more fun, kind of tactile fun, like, or rather than Animal Crossing. So a game where maybe you drive a car, maybe you're a taxi driver, and not like Crazy Taxi, but that's just, you do this as part of, the life simulation. You can maybe drive taxis, or maybe you can drive trains, or maybe you can be customer service. And the customer service track in this game is like, you talk to people and they tell you things, and you have to kind of keep the thread. So they'll say things and then they'll kind of go off track, and then they'll ask you like, hey, what did I say? It's kind of like a quiz kind of thing. So you could have different mini games or different modes of play that are maybe a little deeper than mini games, but different modes of play for each track, and the game is just about kind of having fun, living your life in this game, rather than externally pursuing a goal, which is most games, or an exploration of the characters, which is most indie games. Or not most indie games, but the most breezy indie games are probably going to be either farming or exploration of characters through stories. Like, I guess Firewatch, you could kind of say like that. Dear Esther, Gone Home, those kinds of games, where it's like, it's an adventure game or a walking simulator, but it's really about the story. There's no violence, but it's about the story more so. Although I haven't played Firewatch, so I don't know. But my understanding of the kind of games I'm talking about is basically, they have more of a focus on story, which is fine. I don't have any issues with the games that exist. I don't have my problem is not that these games exist. My problem is that the game I want to play does not. the game that where I could just have fun and make my own fun doesn't really exist. And I guess the kind of analogs you have is like RimWorld, Dwarf Fortress, Animal Crossing. Like, there's a goal in RimWorld, but unless you're good, you're probably not going to get to the end. Like, RimWorld is a game where you can have a lot of fun dying constantly, and it doesn't really feel like you're losing so much as just like, well, that's just the way it is. Like, that's just the fun of RimWorld. Is like, you build up your squad, you build up your camp, and then something happens and everyone dies, and it's like, okay, well, I'll come back to this in a couple months. But basically, I think that would be my game. That would be something I'd like to play and something I'd like to make. A game that's focused on gameplay systems, focused on non-violence, focused on modern times. Maybe even not super modern, because that feels like it could be even more fun if it was like 1982, 1979, something like that, where you have this kind of burgeoning technology era where you have like cassette tapes and things like that. So you have people walking around with Walkmans and things like that. You can collect different tapes and take them with you as you go about your day in-game, and listen to the music as you're playing. And you can interact with people, and they have like different, again, burgeoning technologies like boom boxes and stuff like that. The internet is not there yet, but they're developing it. So you have maybe Usenet boards or things like that, like terminals where you can like interact with people in game. Like read forums, like in-game forums, to like get hints on things that are happening. I mean, like it kind of writes itself now that I'm thinking about it. Like, what if you made a game like Stardew Valley, but it was set in 1980? Like, what would that look like? It's like, okay, well, you have, online forums and things like that, so you can go on the forum and read articles or read forum posts where someone's like, hey, the fireworks festival is coming up tomorrow. Is anyone going to go? Yes, yeah, blah blah blah. And so you're like, oh, okay, so tomorrow I can go to the fireworks festival. So like now you have different terminals that lead to different forums around the city, and each forum has its own like maybe focus, maybe on things that you can do in games. So you have to go to this terminal to read this forum to get hints or tips on excellent routes through the city. So if you're a taxi driver, you go to this terminal, this computer, you read this forum, and it tells you different things, or maybe you can download maps, and then you learn different shortcuts and things that you wouldn't know otherwise. Like there's a lot you could do, but I feel like a game, like if you could imagine the vibe of a farming game like Stardew Valley or Harvest Moon, but it's set in modern times and it's not about farming. That's basically what I want to make. Kinda. Tikov the Dev says you should do a design stream of this idea with master plan. That'd be really fun to watch. I should. I should. I should. Maybe I will. I like that idea. I would like to. I think I have to work on master plan and add whiteboards before I'm really like. I feel like it's there, but that would be very cool. Yeah. I'm sorry. I have been missing the chat in a little bit. SKE says, I see Go works pretty well for game dev for you. I've heard bad things about that. Of course, not like AAA stuff, but it works well for 99% of indie and beyond. What do you think? I think it's a good language. I think it works really well. I like it. I like that it's simple. I like that it there's generally one way to do things. So it's like, if you want to do things and Go supports one way to do it, you can make your own functions or structs or whatever to do whatever you want, but generally there's one way. I like that. That makes it simple. That makes it easy. Coming from C, that's what appeals to you. Yeah, I like that you have very easy dependency management. So you can be like, I want to check out this module from GitHub and use it in my code. And then if you want to update it, you go to the go.mod file and you can update it. I like that. That's super simple. I don't have to worry about like chaining things together from external sources and putting it into my source tree. Go handles that. All I have to do is just say, this is what I need. Yeah, there's definitely upsides to Go. I like it a lot. Unreal would never use Go. It's performance. There's still a GC and CGO. Yeah, CGO is unfortunate. I mean, like it's kind of necessary for doing some things, but there are ways to get around some things with CGO. So that's like there's upsides and downsides to both. Any to using it or not using it rather. In any case, I don't know if I'm ever gonna get to the bottom of this. I keep getting distracted. I feel like I've solved this exact problem before, and I don't remember. Like it's this problem, but the solution I don't think is one I don't think I'm going to run into this solution, if that makes sense. Okay, the bird normal is set. Wait. Okay, no, that's right. Okay, that all seems fine. Lucretia says, I like Go a lot, but I wish you could define struct functions outside of the file the struct is defined. You can. You totally can. Like, here's model. Here's my model struct in model.go. You can go to matrix and then say like func model, make new matrix. Yeah. Yeah, you could totally do that. It doesn't have to be in the same file. It never does. Never did. I thought that was forbidden. Is it? Nah, you can do that. You can totally do that. I do that I think once in here, maybe exactly once, because it's like, you know, sometimes you'll want to have like, here's all your model stuff, but then it's like, I want to have a function that like makes a model out of a node or a node out of a model. That doesn't make sense. But you know, let's say you wanted to like make a node out of a model, out of a light. Rather than putting it in light, you might want to put it in a node, so you can you know, move stuff around as you will, to get the result that you want. So yeah, you can totally do what you want to do. I also like that too, that like it's not a super, hold on. Oh. 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 Just like not screaming, not moaning, but just making sound. All right, I think that this was the issue. This was it. This was the problem. This was not the problem. Okay, let's see. String vector pool is of vertex positions times 2 length. I might just not do this way. I might do it a different way. Let me think. Hold on. The skin vertex. I'm pretty sure this is the issue. I'm just trying to figure out exactly how to resolve this. Vert out. Skin vector pool. Okay, so that should work. So we reset it. Oh, yeah. Yes. Oh, I guess, yeah, that does make sense now that I think about it. Skin. So we probably could do length triangles times 3 times 2. Something like that. Skin vector pool. This might be, it's going to be a little bit more wasteful, but this should work a little. There we go. There it is. There it is. There they go. Now it's looking. Now it's working correctly. Yeah. Cool. So that's basically it. It only took like 3 hours. That was 3 hours of having fun. All right, so we can undo all of this stuff. It does not let me undo. I will have to revert this code. There we go. What do I think of Obround? Let me see. I saw that but didn't. Okay. Altergo says, I finally found a name I'm happy with to describe a 2D capsule, and that is Obround. I have been referring to them as 2D capsule in my code, but I think Obround is more succinct. What do I think of Obround? You can refer to it as you wish. That sounds weird, but I mean, you could just refer to it as a capsule. You don't even need to distinguish it as a 2D capsule if it's a 2D game. It's just a capsule. There's no alternative, right? Like, but if you want to use Obround, that's fine. There's no issue with using that phrase or that word. I don't. Does it even exist? Is that a thing? Obround? I've never heard of it. All right. Well, this is working. I think we're basically. We're not done, but we're closer. We're closer to being done with this rewrite. The next thing, or another thing I need to do that is important is baking lighting. I think we should be able to just kind of like do something like this. We want to do mesh part model. And the target colors we want to be oh man. Well, I guess we could do something like this. Something like this. Let me see here. Does it put it in here? It does. Okay, so no, those are nils. So that won't work. The problem is that capsule refers specifically to the 3D shape. The 2D equivalent is called a stadium, but that sounds weird to me. Obround is a term for it. I found it on the internet. That's crazy. I mean, like, if capsule refers to specifically a 3D shape, but your game is 2D, then it doesn't. You can call it what you want, man. Like, have fun. Like, I would just call it probably a capsule, unless I literally could not call it. Maybe you literally cannot call it a capsule, but if you cannot call it, if you can call it a capsule, I would just call it a capsule if it's a 2D thing. If it's my game is only 2D, then it's like, you know, there's no distinguishing between a 2D capsule and a 3D capsule, or a stadium or a capsule. Okay, so I don't know if this would actually work. Alterio says it would be like defining a circle shape and calling it a sphere. That is fine if it's for 2D. If it's for, I know that a sphere is a 3D circle, but like if you're making a 2D game and you want to call it a sphere, no one's gonna be upset with you. Like you can just call it a sphere in your code. It's you can call it a capsule. Like it's up to you. Like I think the distinguishing thing that kind of in my mind makes it a little bit better to call a circle in 2D a sphere is if it's in a world context, like in a physics context, then it's like, okay, I can see why you might call it a sphere, because it's like even though it's 2D, it's a world object. It's a physics object. So it's like, it's, it's a circle, but if it were 3D, if this was a real thing, it would be a sphere. You can call it an ob round. That's fine. I mean, like you asked for my opinion. My opinion is I would just call it a capsule. That's that is my opinion. Okay. I think I'm kind of like, I think this isn't going to work. I don't think this is going to work. I don't need this anymore. Light for each vertex index. Target colors. Okay, yeah, this will work. Never mind. It's not the best approach, the best solution, but this should work. Yeah, this isn't the best way to do this, but this should work, I think. Maybe. There we go. Okay, so this is working. It's not the best, but it does work. All right, so this is we're basically done. For anyone who might like be just joining and being like, thinking, what is this? This is, hold up. Really? No matter how I look, it's on screen. This is a example that I made to bake lighting, to show how lighting could be baked into vertex colors rather than being real time. This is the shadeless level. This is AO, the shadeless level plus AO or ambient occlusion. This is just lighting, and then this is all three, or both of them. So this is like pretty much maximum PlayStation 1, and our frame time is pretty dang low. Always a little tight. Sopu says, so it's baking the lighting into the image texture and then rendering it. It's baking the lighting into the vertex colors. So this is what it looks like. This is what the scene looks like. But when we enable lighting, what it's doing is basically coloring each of the vertices where the triangles are that make up this scene. It's coloring each of the vertices using using the colors of the lights in the scene. So basically, it's baking the lighting, statically baking the lighting into the vertex colors for this mesh, so that this is something that you don't really see too often, I feel like, with modern engines. But it used to be back in the day that if you want to, or at least this is an approach back in the day, if you wanted to have a scene with relatively complicated lighting, but you didn't need the lighting to be dynamic, like for example, if you're making a first-person game and you never remove any objects from the scene, you never visibly remove objects from the scene, then you can make all the lighting baked because the lighting never changes, right? So you can have like a whole bunch of lights. It can look to be super dynamic, and you can move around the scene as though it's, all calculated in real time, but you don't cast a shadow and you never move any objects. So casting shadows never happens. So yeah. So this is just basically me ensuring that this still works, which fortunately it does. Yeah. Very cool. Be cool. Thank you. So this has been Tetra 3D. It's been it's been a lot of fun talking about Sonic Frontiers with everyone for 2 hours. I need to get something to eat. I'm hungry. It's like 7, yeah, it's like 7 o'clock where I am, 7 p.m. So I'm gonna go get something to eat. I'm gonna probably finish this up at some point / work on master plan. But yeah, it's been real. It's been very real. And I'll have to think about making that stream or doing that video or making that article about designing this like Animal Crossing in modern times game, or just doing more game design talk. I feel like that's a lot of fun, and it's interesting to consider how games work, or what makes a game good, or what makes a game fun, and think about it before we just jump off and say, let's start making a game like Super Mario Odyssey. It's like, well, what makes Mario Odyssey work? What why is it fun to play Mario Odyssey? And in short, it's because the levels are well designed, and they're designed for Mario's moveset. Although I will say that I wish Mario Odyssey had more Mario only gameplay. I feel like it kind of had the Sonic Lost World problem of not constantly, but having too much extra stuff. Like, controlling Goombas is fun, controlling Bullet Bills is fun, but I mean, like, honestly, you could have had an entire kingdom or two more of pure Mario goodness, and that would have been fantastic. I feel like they kind of like weren't really confident in, it feels like they weren't really confident in pure Mario gameplay. Maybe because they feel like they've done that before, but that was good. Like, Mario plus Cappy, give me an hour or two extra of pure Mario Cappy gameplay, and challenge maps and stuff. Like, that would have been a good time. Anyway, I'll catch you guys later. Anyway, I'll catch you guys later. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to support development, please check out the links in the description to Masterplan on itch and Steam, and check out Tetra 3D and look around with it. Look around, see if you like it. But yeah, it's been real. It's been fun. Check out my Patreon as well if you can, and I'll see you guys next time. I'll see you guys, I guess, tomorrow, maybe either tomorrow or Friday. But I'll probably post the stream tomorrow. If I do it tomorrow, I'll see if I can do it tomorrow. Anyway, I'll catch you guys later. Thanks for watching. See ya.